Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 25th episode of VAR and Espresso. Today, we are live with Patrick. Hello, Patrick.
Hi, Leo.
How are you?
Fantastic. Yeah, just getting ready for a holiday. So had a little treat with last night's match. I got to sit and relax, watch it all, and yes, very, very exciting game for one team anyway.
Yeah, so we will start talking about that PSG Real Madrid game because it was a new real good performance from PSG, who reached the final and will face Chelsea on Sunday night for Europe, and Sunday afternoon if you are living in the Eastern Coast in the US. So, what did you think about that game? What do you have some points you want to point out?
Yeah, well, my initial thoughts are for Chelsea. I think they might try and it would be wise for them to try and get their visas revoked and go back home before they have to face PSG. That was one of the best performances I've ever seen. The first half was just relentless. I think Real Madrid acted like a boxer who had taken two heavy punches really quickly after each other. After the first goal went in, they looked confused. We'll talk about that more. After the second goal went in, they collectively lost their mind. They were all over the shop. PSG did not give them an inch, didn't give them a second on the ball. They were harassing them on top. The press was just overwhelming Madrid constantly. And I think I've never seen a team so happy to go in at halftime 2-0 down. Oh, no, 3-0 down. 3-0 down. They probably could have been 6-0 down. It wouldn't have been an unfair reflection on that first half. I was up in the air about what I thought about PSG this season is how good are the team. After seeing that match, I definitely, in my lifetime, I can't remember seeing a more enjoyable team to watch.
Yeah. Just a recall for those who could have not watched this game. Fabian Ruiz opened the score at the 6th minute. Then Dembele scored the second 3 minutes later. Fabian Ruiz scored a brace in the 24th minute, and Gonzalo Ramos closed the 4-0 win on the 87th minute. So, yeah, it was 3 goals in the first 25 minutes. Real demonstration, and I don't know if you think the same than me. In this match, Paris were very strong, very good, but we are used to that. The thing that struck me the most is that Real Madrid were very bad. It's a weakness that struck me the most.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there 100%. I think we talked about it yesterday. I sort of felt that Mbappe would have been better being put on later in the match as opposed to started. I just think that may have disrupted the flow that they've built up over the last few games. But even with Mbappe in, even with the changes, they were terrible. The first two goals. It was almost like a blooper reel of a TV show when you see a TV show outtakes, like the bad things that happen. It almost looked like some of them never looked like they played football. Like Rudiger, bless Rudiger for the second goal when he took that fresh air swipe at the ball when he just swiped to try and pass. I think his left leg kicked his right leg, and the ball just went past him. For that goal, I think it was for a player that confident, that top level player for years to do that was baffling, and it sort of shows how PSG get in your head, because obviously by that stage they'd already been 1-0 down, and the first goal, like the second, was Real Madrid masters of their own downfall. Really cheaply giving away possession. I think it was Asensio took a really heavy touch. Dembele took it away. Courtois cleared him out, basically, so it probably would have been a penalty, but there was no need because Ruiz was in there to finish it off. But they were masters of their own downfall in the first 10 minutes. And I think in the first 10 minutes, PSG were pressing very strongly, but it I think it was after the first 2 goals. The PSG got better after the first 2 goals, arguably.
Sorry.
Just saying, after the first 2 goals, they were arguably better. I think it just filled them with so much confidence to be given 2 free goals.
Yeah, because as you said, it has to be noted that before Dembele's opener, Fabien Ruiz's opener, Courtois made 2 crucial saves in front of the PSG's forward, and one of them was world class. The second one, I think. And yeah, talking about Rudiger and Asensio, who's been having terrible Club World Cup display because he was red carded 2 games ago. Yesterday, he was again not in the mood. So we can say it's because PSG's pressure, which is one of their strengths. We all know that, but that world-class player or high-level player can make this kind of mistakes at this level of competition is quite forbidden, because Rudiger, neither Rudiger or Asensio are bad players, mid-table league players. They are the elite. They won titles. Rudiger won Champions League. They are internationals. It was kind of strange. And as we said in the previous shows, Dinoisen's miss was very important, because I don't think if he had been here yesterday, this kind of error happened, because he's very good on the ball. It's one of his main strengths. So yeah, he was missed yesterday. And also Trent Alexander-Arnold, who injured in the training 2 days ago. So Xabi Alonso had to deal with that, putting Valverde on the right side of the defense. What did you think about Valverde's replacement?
I thought it was unfortunate for Trent, because he was really wrecky. I think he's had a strong tournament for somebody that's just come in last minute and then instantly playing in a big tournament like this to adapt. I thought he played himself well into the tournament. He was getting better as it went on. So obviously a big miss. Asensio, I don't think there's too many compliments I can give any players from Madrid, but Asensio, I was probably less bad than Rudiger. But no, I just think even with the replacements, I think we discussed this yesterday, the replacements of Real Madrid made the team weaker. The PSG ones, like, they had suspensions. I had to bring in players. Dembele was brought in, and who else was brought in? Beraldo was replaced by. Pacho was off, so Beraldo came in. He was fine. He had a strong game, defensively sound. So PSG have the subs that can. PSG have substitutes that slot in, and you don't see a massive change in the style, formation, or their drive. Whereas Real Madrid's changes did not work out well for them at all, and I think it rattled the entire team. But also, having said that, you've mentioned they're a professional unit. They've won multiple trophies before the past. I just don't see how it got so bad so quickly for them.
Yeah, and you were talking about positive points or good points for Real Madrid yesterday. I think the only positive one was the return of Eder Militao from injury. He had a solid substitution in the end of the game.
Yeah, Militao was solid. I think Madrid substitute Militao was very strong, so that's exciting to see for Madrid. And I can imagine as much as he builds up his fitness over the next couple of weeks, he'll be vital for them next season. But I feel that, himself, Militao, Modric started causing trouble really quickly. Probably would have been better bringing him on early. But the substitutes were, and Courtois was probably, if you look at the 90 minutes, man of the match, and I mean, 4 goals went past them, and it just shows the sort of level the outfield team had. But yeah, I suppose Real Madrid can look and say, yeah, we got plenty to learn from that match. We're obviously not at the level we thought we were, and there'll be lots for to look back on. But 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 coming back would be a plus. Being able to get a rest maybe will be a plus after that. They'll just want to forget this match. Basically, I don't think I've ever seen Madrid look so ordinary in a match.
Yeah,
they've been beaten by Barcelona. Yeah, they were beaten by Barcelona early in the season. I think it was the same score. But
the Bernabeu.
Yeah, but the Bernabeu. But also that was humiliating for them, especially being at home. But they didn't play badly. They were just they were slacking moments in that match that cost them. They were just terrible from start to finish. I think Rudiger had 3 minutes. It was just a nightmare because I don't know if you remember, Real Madrid had a corner about 3 minutes after the second goal went in. There was Rudiger was to blame for that second goal. They took a corner and Rudiger tried to swipe at it, completely missed.
Yeah.
So PSG broke, and it just the camera lingered on Rudiger sort of upside down, kicking fresh air. And it's just, he probably would have watched that 3 minutes for as long as he lives.
Yeah. We talked about return, just to notice that Dani Carvajal also returned from injury yesterday, and he did it in his Carvajal style by getting a booking just a few seconds after. Just a few seconds after his substitution. So, and of course, if we talk about Real Madrid's performance from yesterday, we cannot talk about the performance of the forwards, because I still believe that the Mbappe-Vinicius combination is not viable against the big teams as PSG, or it can be against Manchester City, I don't know, Bayern München, for example, because of their defensive contribution. It's non-existent. Yesterday, they leave their midfielders on their own, and it created space for PSG. So it's a real problem. And in fact, we saw no full lot of space yesterday, mainly in the build-up to the game for PSG. When PSG were in their area, we saw that it was too easy for them to cross the line from Real Madrid. And yesterday, I personally think they didn't play like a team, but like a collection of individuals.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. PSG made it look like they were an 11-a-side team playing a 6-a-side team. The spaces were it was so open. I mean, I know PSG are brilliant with their midfield of Neves, Vitinha, and Ruiz. They're fantastic at controlling the ball, finding gaps, playing out wide. But you've hit the nail on the head, Leo. Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. do not track back. And what's worse, when they see their defenders struggling to hold the ball, you can see them getting pressed, they're still not coming back. So they're not supporting their team. I think I sort of said yesterday that PSG play as a unit, and the only way Real Madrid could sort of match that is if they also decided to play as a unit and not as a group of brilliant individuals, but individuals nonetheless. I think Alonso is going to have one hell of a task on his hand to try and get that team to play like, say, a PSG, or even play like his Leverkusen team, because I just don't think Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe want to go. They just don't want to go to that side of the half. They don't want to track back. It's not in their nature. I can see maybe Vinicius Jr. adapting to it a bit more. I just can never see Kylian Mbappe wanting to do that sort of the hard work.
Yeah, I totally agree, because when you remember of Vinicius Junior from 2 or 3 seasons ago, the 2 seasons when Real Madrid won the Champions League, he never hesitates to make defensive runs. He was ultra concerned on his left wing, and that now we don't see it anymore. And something that illustrates this idea is that yesterday Kylian Mbappé started the game on the right wing of the Madrid's attack, and then he was replaced in the as a striker, putting gonzalo Garcia on the wing, which is not his natural place. So it's difficult, I think, to play with those two players, even if they are incredibly good. We all know that. They don't have to prove it. And yeah, I think it will be quite interesting to see how 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 will deal with that, because it will be the key point of his season.
Yeah, no, Leo, it's going to be a very interesting. I don't know what their preseason looks like now. I think maybe they'll probably treat that as most of the preseason. They might have one or two practice matches before the season proper kicks off, but yeah, that's going to be the biggest conundrum he'll have. I've got a question for you, Leo. Do you think that the arrival of Mbappe over the last year, do you think there's part of Vinicius Junior that wants, it's sort of like competing with him to say who's better? I can do better than you. Instead of remembering that they're part of a team, do you think they're in a sort of competition with each other almost?
I think it's difficult when you are the star player of a team like Vinicius was before Mbappe's arrival. When you just won the Champions League, because when Mbappe arrived, Real Madrid have just won the Champions League. So, and Vinicius scored in the final. He was the key player of the squad. So, yeah, I think they are players with egos, so it's kind of complicated. And we were talking about that before Mbappe's arrival at Real Madrid. The difficulties that to play with in such a talented team, because I don't think as a trainer, even if you are Carlo Ancelotti with all your backgrounds and everything, you can't say Mbappe, you are not the star player in this team, because obviously he is on a sportive way, on a marketing aspect. He's the player at Real Madrid, even if on the pitch it's not the truth, or I don't know the reality of the things. Yes, Kylian Mbappe finished the season as the PSG in La Liga, scoring 27, 28 goals, I think. So yeah, he succeeded in fact, but not in the big games, and his prestations were kind of they were not really good all the season, especially if you remember at the start of the season, he didn't score. He was really bad last season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's difficult to deal with that, especially when you also have Rodrigo, who scored a lot of important goal for Madrid, and now he seems to be second or even third choice, because yesterday Gonzalo Garcia were preferred, and as it was during the whole World Cup, so Club World Cup. So yeah, I think it's a difficult thing to deal with. And what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think I've got two thoughts on that. Like, one, I'm glad you brought up Rodrigo, because I feel really bad for Rodrigo. To get into the Real Madrid, to be bought by Real Madrid when you're playing for Leeds United is a dream. To then have the season that he was having with Real when they stormed into the Champions League, to now be a bit part player. Yeah. And he's done nothing to deserve that either. His performances never dipped. It's just because we've got a superstar on our team now, like Kylian Mbappe. We need to fit him in. Somebody has to make way. It's it's an incredible shame for him. I know there's been rumors of Rodrigo leaving. A few teams interested, so I would imagine Rodrigo might leave this summer, possibly. But I do feel for him in that regard, because he's sort of been cut out to make way for sort of like Kylian Mbappe through no fault of his playing, no fault of his talent. He was one of my favorite players to watch as well in previous seasons. Second thought was Kylian Mbappe at Real Madrid last season, and hopefully this season he's better. It sort of reminded me of Juventus when they brought in Cristiano Ronaldo. He gets the goals, but it's almost to the detriment of the team. Like the team, Juventus as a team played worse during Ronaldo's tenure there, but he still managed to be top scorer. I think at least one of the 2 seasons he was there. But his goals were taken away from the team performance. So I think Alonso needs to find a way to get Mbappe keeping up that goal level, but also contributing, remembering to pass the ball. I mean, last night's a bad example because I don't think they had 3 passes in a row that were accurate until Modric came on, maybe. But I think that's a conundrum for Alonso as well, to try and figure out a way to have Mbappe at that constant level of goal scoring, but also contribute for his team.
Yeah, but you just mentioned Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Cristiano Ronaldo, when he was playing for Juve, he did score more important goals than Kylian Mbappe in the big games, because Kylian Mbappe's weakness this season was also that he didn't score winners. He scored against Barcelona. He scored a lot against Barcelona, but Real Madrid always they lose 4 games I think this season, and conceded 16 goals against Barcelona. So he scored in some big games, but when it not against Arsenal, for example, in the Champions League, when Real Madrid needed his goal. So he had a lot of goals, but the timing of theirs wasn't the best for Real Madrid.
No, absolutely, and that's something that we can't really say much about yesterday's performance as his first start, and he may have been still carrying over a stomach bug. But last season it was flattering to deceive his numbers, really. As you say, in the big matches and the important moments when you expect him to stand up, he wasn't. Now we can sort of look into that as he's adjusting to a new league, adjusting to a new manager formation, and obviously there was changes around him to try and accommodate him. So there was changes in attack to see what worked best with Mbappe. But Mbappe, as you say, as you've mentioned, he's got the ego and he knows he wants to be the number 1 player. But it could be good for him if somebody sat him down and said, "You are the number 1 player, obviously, in the team, but we need to work a way for people to feed into you and more communication." I didn't see much side of him getting super frustrated last season when things weren't going his way. Sort of like you would see Ronaldo, if a pass was misplaced, he would throw up his arms. Sort of. Mbappe doesn't have that element as much to him, but I definitely think he needs to think team more than me.
Yeah,
I think it's a team more than the individual.
Yeah. And to be honest, when he was in PSG, the last season, last 2 seasons, he was not as good as we can say in the build-up. Just he scored crucial goals, and he scored just goals. He was a killing machine, scoring twice, hat-trick and everything, but he was not necessarily the best player in the team in PSG, and it was I think it was quite the same thing last season with Real Madrid, because he wasn't the best player, but he was one of the deadliest. So it saves a lot the perception we got of his performances. So
no, exactly, and maybe a lot when you think about Mbappe. So if you mentioned to a football fan Mbappe, you think that World Cup final. You think how he took the game by the scruff of the neck when it looked like they were out of it completely and just completely turned the game around. But as you say, he's almost like a highlights footballer more than a 90-minute shift footballer.
Yeah, and the club the 2022 World Cup final is the emphasizement of Kylian Mbappe, in my opinion, because before the 80th minute, France in general, but especially Mbappe, weren't good at all. They were so bad. And then Mbappe's genius came in. He scored three, and yeah, that emphasized the idea of Kylian Mbappe being a star player. Really interesting one, and he's capable of making highlights and level up when the situation needed it. But maybe for a season long 90 minutes, it's more complicated. The thing is that it's quite paradoxical because he wants more, but by doing less. So I don't think it's possible for a club like Real Madrid. You have to give it 100% if you want to succeed in a club like that.
No, absolutely. And if they want a template of success, even though it might be a tough watch, they should probably look at last night's match. Like, look at PSG, look at how they played, and like that's how to play football. That's how to work as a team, how to drive each other forward. Like, I do, like in the Bayern Munich quarterfinal, PSG had to problem solve, and it took them a long time. And Bayern were knocking on the door. But the more and more the match went on, the more it felt like PSG would finally unlock that problem and get themselves a goal. And then they went down to 9 men and still managed to get themselves a second goal. PSG yesterday didn't have to problem solve at all. Real Madrid gave themselves problems really early on, and from there PSG just said thank you very much and ran on with it. I mean, there was a stat at, I think was it the 64th, after 60 minutes, PSG had 467 passes, Real Madrid had 168. I would be very hard to think of another match where Real Madrid have been overpowered that much.
And 76% possession, so it's incredible. Hello, Daniel.
Hi,
How are
Daniel.
you?
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me.
We were just talking about yesterday's Real Madrid versus PSG game. We were focusing on Vinicius and Mbappe's association that didn't work and at all. So, what did you think about that game yesterday?
I think, first of all, I think everything needs to be taken with a pinch of salt. Because obviously this is a team, one side, you've got a team that's had a head coach for, is it 2 seasons? Luis Enrique's been there now, 2 full seasons. And really he's only everything's clicked in the last 6 months, and it's really clicked beautifully, but it's still a recent thing. And you've got a new coach on the other side who's implementing a new tactical style. So it's unsurprising one looked a lot more fluid than the other. Also, I think the other pinch of salt is you go back to what we were talking about yesterday, which I think my big take was about which, because obviously both defenses were missing a key defender, and we were talking about I wonder which defense will deal with it better. Well, I think we got that answer, didn't we? You can't account for giving away such sloppy goals, such bad defending, and basic defending. Against anybody, let alone Paris Saint-Germain. The game was over after 10 minutes because Real Madrid gave them the goals. So after that, I don't know. I think it's hard to have a sort of a clear idea of the teams, just because, like I say, the game state immediately changed. Suddenly, Real Madrid are chasing a 2-goal deficit. So you're not going to be defending as well as you should do. I mean, they weren't defending at all, really, were they? But hypothetically, say it was half-time, it was 0-0, Real Madrid are sort of sitting and trying to break. That as a game plan makes more sense, but you can't really do that when you've already given away 2 goals. So you just can't account for it. I think as impressive as Paris Saint-Germain were, and that is 2 of the giants of European football they've defeated 5-0, 4-0, in recent months. Patrick was saying, I think the Bayern game was a lot more telling in that actually another elite European team almost figured that out, almost did it. And again, Bayern had a couple of goals disallowed for offside, so they weren't a million miles away from doing it. But yeah, this felt like it came too soon for Real Madrid. As impressive as they have been in this tournament, Paris Saint-Germain are several rungs above the teams that Real Madrid have played so far. So I think it's like incredible performance from Paris Saint-Germain, but I wouldn't be panicking if I were Real. It's not as if it's like the kings are dead, long live the kings. It's not quite that. It's too soon in this particular journey for Alonso's men. The other thing I would say is, Leo, we spoke about this several times. Raul Asensio has had an awful tournament. If they take anything away from this, he's very much the fifth choice centre back. So if it'd be interesting to see if Real try and get another centre back in, maybe on loan, to try and cover Militao's absence, because obviously, if everybody was fit, it would be Rudiger, who, let's not forget, also conceded a stupid mistake to allow a goal. It'd be Rudiger, Militao, and probably Huijsen, and then you'd have Tchouaméni in front of him as a defensive midfielder. But you do not have Militao. You don't have Militao for a while. So all you have is Tchouaméni or Raul Asensio. So yeah, I'd be intrigued to see if they try and get another defender. They have to keep Raul Asensio, if only for European competition squad submissions, right? You need 4 players trained at the club and 8 trained in the nation. And Raul Asensio is a Real Madrid trainee, right? So
yeah,
having him as an extra body, it makes sense. It's a good idea to keep him in the squad, but he is very much the 5th choice defender when there are currently only 3 centre backs. If that makes sense.
That's true. And we were talking earlier about if there is a good point for Real Madrid yesterday. We said that it was Eder Militao's return because his substitution were quite interesting, in fact.
Broke up for me a little bit. Would you mind repeating that?
Yeah, we have just said that if Real Madrid could be happy about one thing yesterday, it was about Militao's return, because his substitution was quite good, in fact.
I just hope they're not rushing it. Rudiger he came back a little bit earlier than expected, and just in time really for this tournament, because obviously Raul essentially got suspended when they needed more defenders. Militao, again, considering the severity of his injury, you just hope it's not too soon. You hope that it's like, okay, that's like just a little bit of time, and now they're gonna have another couple of weeks off. I just hope they don't rush it too much, because obviously defending, as we just mentioned, defending with Militao and Rudiger is a whole different proposition than to defending with Raul Asensio and the makeshift centre back in Tchouaméni.
Yeah. We are going to make a deep preview of the final on tomorrow, but I have a question for you. Is the best team in the world is going to win the Club World Cup and this Sunday? And wouldn't it be logical, in fact?
Yeah, I've been talking for a bit.
Sorry?
I was going to say, does Patrick want to answer this? Because I've been
talking
for a bit.
So will the best team win PSG, I assume? Being the best team, yes. I can't imagine Chelsea doing anything in that match. I think it will probably be sort of echoes of Inter. I can't see it. Like PSG, Daniel made good points about Real sort of settling in sort of its early doors with Alonso, but it's early doors in many ways for Chelsea. They're bringing in like drafts of players, trying to get them used to playing under a new formation, under a new manager. So I think it may be sort of yesterday repeated. There's nothing. I can't really make a single argument for Chelsea winning this match. I think it's PSG's sort of destiny to win on Sunday, then win every match for maybe the next year and see how that goes. But
Yeah, I mean, sorry to jump in there. It's widely regarded, and not unfairly, that whoever wins the UEFA Champions League is the best team in the world. That's the way things have been, right? If you go to what is now the Intercontinental Cup, the Club World Cup, last 22, 23 years, there have only been 2 winners that haven't been European. You know, it's dominant. So it's kind of accepted that whoever wins the Champions League is the best team in the world. UEFA Champions League, rather. Now, having said that, we should also point out that the champions of Spain are not in this competition. The champions of England, regarded as the toughest league in the world, are not in this competition. The champions of Italy are not in this competition. The champions of Portugal, you know, so it's this strange asterisk of, you know what, actually Paris Saint-Germain almost certainly are the best team in the world. They rightly won the UEFA Champions League. They battled, you know, they lost to Aston Villa, but squeezed through that. They could have lost to Arsenal, but they got through that. They squeezed through against Liverpool on a penalty shootout. These narrow margins, these narrow victories, and then destroyed Inter in the final, right? Yeah. So it's hard to know if they're the best team in the world or if it's just this is the peak of their powers. You know, this is the 6 months of incredible form, and obviously, much like a lot happens with tactical identity, will people work it out next season? Right? That comes along quite often. You know, you get a dominant team in a certain league, and then next year they're sort of they're less potent because again the coaching and tactical analysis is so advanced. People work teams out, and people will work out Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, we saw with Bayern, right? They almost worked them out. They had a good game plan. Arguably, it worked. Yeah. So yeah, I think the best team in the world are in this final. But again, there's that thought of, I wonder what would have happened had the best team in England, you know, doing it without the best team in England, the best team in Spain, the best team in Italy, the best team in Portugal. That's a strange argument, isn't it? Yeah, but that's my only sort of quibble with it. But yeah, it's just all fell into place for Paris Saint-Germain, hasn't it? It's all come at the right time.
And if I can just add something, Daniel, to your point, last season or the 2024-2025, during the 2025 season, everyone was saying that PSG, Liverpool, and Barcelona were the 3 best teams in the world from what they have shown, the goals, the talented. PSG played against Liverpool and they defeated them, but they never played this season against Barcelona. So it would have been a quite interesting opposition. And
that's the final that everybody wanted, right? Because Barcelona, record number of attacking goals, such wonderful attacking play, vulnerable defensively, and probably would have been picked up by Paris Saint-Germain. But it's one of those where the final could have been 4-3 as opposed to 5-0. That's way more interesting than a 5-0. But Inter, rightly, you know, they deserve to beat Inter. You know, you don't defeat them over 2 legs by accident. That's kind of the beauty of football, right? Some tactical setups defeat other tactical setups, and others completely steamroll others. It's beautiful. It's flexible. But yeah, it's a really good point. The fact that, I mean, arguably did they beat Liverpool? They lost the game 1-0 and they won a game 1-0 and they defeated them on penalties. For me, that's a draw. For me, they drew against Liverpool. For me, they still barely beat the second best team in England. They somehow almost lost to Aston Villa, who are the 6th best team in England. You know, it's difficult. But also, but hey, look, someone else is here.
Hello, Pedro. Sorry,
Pedro.
Hello, good afternoon. I was listening you carefully. It's interesting how PSG without huge superstars like Neymar, Messi could build the best soccer team in the world. It's interesting to analyze how works the chemistry, how works the team functionality with very good players indeed. And they lose Mbappe, they improve. How interesting it is.
Sorry, Leo.
No, go on, Daniel.
I was just going to jump on Pedro's point and sort of refer back to that video of Enrique yelling at Mbappe in his final year at Paris Saint-Germain. You know, trying to not sort of persuade him to listen to Enrique, but to almost throw Enrique's idea at Mbappe. You've got to buy into it, otherwise it doesn't work. And it didn't quite work, and so Mbappe leaves. And look, and it took another 6 months of trial and error, but he found someone to make it work in Dembele, right? It's also interesting how there's been a lot of, I think, potential overreaction because we seem to go through the ages of like Guardiola's Barcelona, went through the age of Real Madrid as the dominant force in Europe, and that is arguably an end. I think that came to an end really with Ancelotti leaving, so to speak. That's the end of the era. Are we now in the era of Paris Saint-Germain? Possibly, but it is only the first season. Is it going to be this incredible? We'll only know in 3 or 4 years. But it's an incredible start. But it's hardly. I wouldn't jump up too soon to say, "Yep, Paris Saint-Germain are the best team in the world, and they will be for the next 4 years." Not necessarily. Yeah. They've done, for the first time under their $1 billion ownership, they finally had good recruitment, which has still cost a lot of money, to be clear, but it's been more tactical, and it's been, younger French players, more desire, better work rate. It's been more intelligent recruitment, right? So after throwing a lot of money at this, they've got it right, and you've got to applaud them for that, but also highlight the fact that it has taken a while.
Yeah. But you're right, because it's an idea I strongly defend, because when we talk about PSG today, global media, they say that PSG no longer have stars like Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, and that's right. But when you see that they spent 90 million euros last season just to buy Colomwani, 70 million euros to buy Kvaratskhelia, 60 for Doué. It's the same thing. It's just not the same names. So yeah, we have to be careful with this point, I think.
Yeah, I agree with. So I was just going to touch on Daniel's point that I agree with what Daniel says, to build a squad that can be considered one of the greatest of all time. Yeah, 1 year doesn't cut it, or as you say, 6 months.
What's the expression? One swallow does not a summer make.
Doesn't make a summer, yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll see how it is in 4 years' time. But at the minute, I always say this at the start, not the best team of all time. Can't even say that for a few more years. Currently the best informed team at the moment, but I can't think of a more enjoyable football team to watch. I'm a United supporter. I've went through a few great years, a few fallow years of late, but that PSG team are of such an abundance of fun to watch.
Yeah,
they may make games boring though by winning 4-0, 5-0 and stuff, but you got to admire that.
I think I know you say like Chelsea don't really stand a chance in the final, and I completely understand why you say that. And to be honest, I can also see a similar situation where quite a young Chelsea defense will be pressured from the press, will be pressured into mistakes, and suddenly you're 2 goals behind and the game's gone. However, having said that, Chelsea do have players that can hurt Paris Saint-Germain. They have, first of all, I think I said this a couple of days ago, like the way to defeat a team like we talk about the Women's Euros, so the way to defeat such a dominant team like Spain, who always have the ball, press you high. We see there are a couple of ways to defeat them. One, be Jose Mourinho, who was the master at that, which was, just let them have the ball then. Sort of anti-football. And it worked. It does work, and it will work again. That might be, and PSG have lost a game this year from missing chances. Sorry, lost a game in this competition. So they're not impenetrable. They're not invincible. But the way to defeat these teams is having basically 2 or 3 things. One, having a midfielder who is able to receive the ball under pressure and press-resistant midfielders. 2, having incredibly quick wide players who can get up the pitch to support the front player. And 3, have a front player who can hold up the ball. So if you have 2 of those 3, you have a chance of defeating these teams because essentially you can work the counter-attack. And for me, Chelsea actually tick all three of those boxes. I think whether it's 𝐊𝐢𝐜𝐤, who is very good at holding up the ball or running down the flanks, or now Pedro, who is, I think I saw in regards to statistics around running to the ball, he was leading the Premier League in every single metric. He's an expert at running to the ball as opposed to in behind. So either him and 𝐊𝐢𝐜𝐤 have the skills and the attributes to actually do well against Paris Saint-Germain. They have midfielders who can take the ball under pressure in like Enzo and Palmer, who are such good technical players. And they have quick wide players. So I don't know. I think it could be one of those things where Chelsea absolutely are pressured into making mistakes because they're an experienced defence. But let's not ignore the fact that they could damage Paris Saint-Germain going forwards. They have the tools. And this goes back, talk about Paris Saint-Germain's recruitment, finally getting it right. This bizarre recruitment with the Chelsea ownership, who are treating it like an American team, may well finally be coming together, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Just before jumping in the Women's Hero award on the Champions League qualification from yesterday, Patrick, you wrote
I forgot that just started. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Sorry, it confused me because there was an article in The Athletic today about the problem because the last season is still going on with the Club World Cup, and now you've got the next season starting. And just like, what? How has this happened?
Yeah. And you know, I have a friend who is playing in Vilnius, 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 Vilnius. They played yesterday in the Champions League, and he told me it's quite strange that the season begin and the other one isn't finished. So, yeah, you're right. So just a word. So Shelbourne won 1-0 against Linfield. Ludogorets Razgrad also won 1-0 against Dynamo Minsk. Interclub Escaldes, so from Andorra, lost 1-3 against FCSB, and so 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 Vilnius won against Amrun Spartans from Malta 2-0. So today are going to be more matches, and the second leg will be on to next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. So now let's talk about the Women's Euro, about the group.
Before you move on, a thought occurred because it's Shelbourne against Linfield, right? So Republic team against Northern Irish team. It does occur to me why the Champions League is such a negative thing in sort of the revenue, right? Because obviously you have across the top 5 leagues, and then you've got the Portuguese league and the Dutch league. You know, that Champions League money can make a big contribution, but also there is some element of rotation about which team wins the league, right? In Portugal, in the Netherlands. But when you get champions coming from, go down a tier, right? So champions of, say, Croatia, of Bulgaria, who are regularly winning their league and regularly getting access to Champions League money, it basically becomes a monopoly, much like Ligue 1. You know, in that one team will dominate for so long because they are just the richest team. Similar things happening in Sweden currently, although they have a different system to try and fix it, which is the winning team, basically, if they qualify for the Champions League, they forego their prize money from the league, right? And it distributes between the rest of the league, which is great. You know, tries to make it more balanced. So I think about teams like Shelbourne and Linfield, like, it would be astonishing. It'd be wonderful if one of those teams made it to the Champions League. Yeah. The Europa League as well offers a great opportunity. But can you also imagine if they got to the Champions League? That would break the Irish League. That would be one team having like 3,000% budget compared to the others. I remember watching a video recently describing like why no team wins the Scottish League apart from Celtic and Rangers. And the comparison was, say, Aberdeen, right? Aberdeen has regards to income of Celtic is something like 4% of what Celtic have in income, right, in revenue, and the equivalent would be, if say it was the Premier League, the equivalent would be something along the lines of, say, Brentford winning the league, having to spend something close to £700 million every year for 5 years. Like it's kind of crazy. But yeah, so even though Celtic basically and Rangers less so, but their revenue compared to the rest of the Scottish League is so far away that it's broken the Scottish League. Only 2 teams can win that league, and it seems a shame that if that ever happened, like to a club from Ireland or Northern Ireland, or you mentioned clubs from I think there was where was it? I think there was like a Bosnian team you mentioned. You know, these kind of teams, if they win their league and actually manage to get into the Champions League, it's wonderful for them. But essentially, if you do that, it will break the domestic league, which it seems counterintuitive.
Yeah. So we can now talk about the Group D of the Women's Euro. Yesterday it was England against the Netherlands and France against Wales in the Group D. Pedro, did you watch these games, or the highlights, or what did you think about it?
I watched the highlights. I'm not surprised with the result. It's what I was expecting. Remember that France cannot mess up against Netherlands because the first tiebreaker is the head-to-head, so they cannot lose the game. And I think that England is going to go through as well. They are going to easily win the next game. Do you want to talk about today's games in the Group A?
We will just make a tour between those 2 games with Daniel and Patrick, and then we can have a word on today's game also. Yeah.
Okay, let me just finish with an appointment that Daniel talked about. José Mourinho 20 years ago brought new levels of motivation and energy based in a common loyalty between all the pack. And in the last few years, some people told that José Mourinho coaching, it was being overtaken by new philosophies, new methods of training, new strategies. And Mourinho told, no, what really changed, it was the managers and their entourage who shaped the mentality of the players more than what I have taught and what I have put it in soccer. What do you think, Daniel?
I mean, it's not. I think we look back at Mourinho's Champions League victories. In some ways, even though Porto was a real shock, like out of absolutely nowhere, in some ways the Inter one was even more surprising because of partly because of the fact that he had to beat Barcelona over 2 legs. This is peak Guardiola's Barcelona. This is something that Alex Ferguson's second great squad couldn't defeat in 2 finals. And yet, over 2 legs, Mourinho's Inter defeated them. At the San Siro, I mean, they not outplayed them, but they definitely outthought them. But it's almost like the masterclass of that 1-0 defeat at the Camp Nou, right? In that I think they had like 28% possession. They just gave the ball. They literally kicked the ball up and just let them have it and defended for 90 minutes. I mean, it was astonishing, but also you can't help but respect it, right? If you realize that if we try sort of the acceptance of if we try and do this kind of football or this kind of football, we will almost certainly lose. The best chance of us getting through this tie, considering they already had the lead, the tactical victory of the first match, therefore led to the tactical victory of the second match. They were allowed the space to just defend, and they did it brilliantly. I think it's in some ways it's a shame to see Mourinho clearly like almost become this pantomime villain. You know, he's like sort of always complaining to the press. In some ways, he suits Turkish football, and that is that level of outrage that's in every single interview. But also, you just felt that there was another big moment after his Roma job, in which, I mean, he did a decent job, although he spent a lot of money, so it's not as if it was a huge surprise. But you just felt that there was just one more chapter in this story of Mourinho where he could shock the rest of Europe with, again, being out-thinking and out-fighting bigger teams. Yeah, in some ways, I hope it's not the end of him, just like going to Turkey and retiring. Personally, I thought he was going to take over the Brazil job before Fenerbahce, being a native Portuguese speaker. And also, quite frankly, his style of football might suit international football better. We see like the relative success England have had, or France, right? Having such incredible attacking players, but playing incredibly defensive football works for knockout tournaments, which is international football, right? I can foresee Mourinho having an international job next and actually being incredibly successful. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay. What did you think about the England game for at the Euro yesterday?
Oh, fantastic. What a performance. As impressive as France were against England, that's how impressive England were against Netherlands. You can't, I mean, obviously Spain have been the real standout performance thus far, but also you talk about the level of opposition, right? They faced Portugal and Belgium, although to be fair, Belgium did beat England only about 5 months ago. But defeating the Netherlands 4-0 is an incredible result. You think back to 4 years ago, England had an incredible group stage, and then they destroyed Norway. Was it 8-0? A really strong Norway side. So that's like a statement victory. But yeah, it felt like a statement victory. England could have scored another couple. But 2 things before I actually shut up, and I should give space for people to talk. 2 things. I'd like to first of all recognize, well, actually both of them about Sarina Wiegman, right? We mentioned before that if anyone can do this, it's her, who has an incredible level of success in international football. 4 tournaments, 4 finals, 2 trophies, right? I didn't realize before her England's loss against France, she'd won literally every game that she'd managed at the Euros.
Okay, that's incredible.
The Netherlands and 6 out of 6 with England. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, like sort of that thing of like, of course she knows what she's doing. This is unprecedented levels of success at the highest level. But the other thing I would say is my own doubt. I doubted Wiegman, God knows why, because before the tournament, she was starting goalkeeper Hannah Hampton ahead of Mary Earps. Mary Earps, again, won best goalkeeper in the world 2 years running, 2022, 2023. Still an incredible shot stopper, still brilliant goalkeeper for Paris Saint-Germain. And yet she lost her place to Hannah Hampton. And a lot of people were questioning why. She's not as good a shot stopper, not as good as goalkeeper, not a commanding presence. But we saw yesterday why she's in the team. Her distribution is incredible with both feet. 2 of the goals were directly from her, essentially, and not just like long launching kicks. These are precise, direct passes. The first one in particular, I think it was like a 60-yard pass with the outside of her foot, which sort of faded into the path of Russo, was fantastic. So even though Hannah Hampton didn't get an assist, she did have those progressive passes that led to the assist, that led to the goal. So I got to hold up my hand and say I did not see why. I saw why there. Her distribution was world class, and I just wanted to sort of highlight that. Like, you can see why now having a goalkeeper with distribution like that is such an important thing. What a performance! What a turnaround! And suddenly England, all they have to do is beat Wales, and they are through. And also, just to quickly talk about what Pedro is saying, that the Netherlands, if they beat France, it's like a 3-way tie. Not quite, because England beat the Netherlands so badly. Their goal difference is so superior in that little head-to-head that if England beat Wales, they are through. That's the end of it. So it is down to if the Netherlands could beat France, then it gets interesting. France are not guaranteed a place in the next round if they lose against the Netherlands.
Okay. Patrick, have you something to say about that England victory?
Yeah, I have to hop off in about a minute, but I just want to give 2 shout-outs. Lauren James, how could anyone doubt her? She had a bad match, but she wasn't, Daniel can confirm this, she wasn't played in position in her first match. So like she's like, I don't know, the criticism she got afterwards was ridiculous. But yeah, she's back. England are back, and I'd be wary if I was Spain. I also want to give a little shout out to Jess Carter, who struggled against France, but she was solid. She was very strong.
Big change though was that she switched with Alex Greenwood. So Alex Greenwood has been the centre defensive partnership with Leah Williamson with Millie Bright out. But Alex Greenwood is naturally left-footed and actually started a career as left back. So I think it was after only 5 or 10 minutes of the game, Wiegman swapped them. So Greenwood was then the left back and Carter was centre back, and they looked way more natural. Having a left footer on the left-hand side, Jess Carter being in the middle of what became a back three as Lucy Bronze gone forward. Yeah, the balance was so much better.
Yeah, and you were talking about Lauren James. She scored a screamer for the first goal. It was unbelievable, and I have to note that, in my opinion, the Dutch goalkeeper made some big mistakes, especially on the second and fourth goals from England. What do you think, Daniel?
Well, first, the second goal, I would be a little bit more forgiving, just because Georgia Stanway's shot was deflected, just slight deflection. But as you know, like when there's a slight deflection on a hard hit shot, it can just adjust how you're diving. Fourth one, yes, possibly could have done better. But I think at that stage, I mean, even the Netherlands bench had sort of thrown in the towel. They were withdrawing some of their key players to keep them fresh for the France game. They accepted that they had lost the match. So I think you can accept that their heads went a bit. But yeah, so I'd be a bit more forgiving for the goalkeeper, especially for the first one. Second.
And the second game from yesterday, sorry, it was the France against Wales. So as we said in the previous show, France did win against Wales 4-1. Have you got something to say about that? Go on.
Upwards, he's above me.
As I said, I only saw the highlights of the England match. Didn't see any of the France match, I'm afraid. But not surprised to see the victory. Not surprised to see the victory.
I think it was almost they were almost drawing at half time. Wales really scared France in the first half. They counter-attacked with more players than they had against the Dutch, and they equalised. It was 1-1 for a long time, heading into the end of the first half. Then Wales conceded a sloppy penalty, and then the goalkeeper almost saved the penalty. The keeper, there's a keeper to criticise. She did really well, almost saving the penalty. But then the second half, she made 2 mistakes that led to the third and fourth goal. So France were a bit lucky. But again, that's what you get with that level of quality, right? You can underperform and still win these matches. But Wales gave them a bit of a fright.
And Daniel, I have a question for you, because you are a quiz man. How many scorers did France have in their 2 opening games? Sorry?
No, sorry, 5 or 6. 6 different scorers.
Yeah, 6. Yeah. 6 different scorers. So, that was my Daniel quiz.
I mean, to be fair, I thought you wouldn't be asking that question unless it was 1 or 6.
So tonight's games are going to be Finland against Switzerland and Norway against Iceland. So, Pedro, do you have a word on that?
I wish that Switzerland can get the draw or better and go through. As a host, I think it's good for human soccer. They are expecting almost full house in Geneva. It's around 25,000 people watching. I was trying here to see if I could find tickets just to know the prices. I could find the tickets in the secondary market that cost 60 euros. So I think the primary market for the prices should be around the 40 euros match. What is affordable for Swiss standard life levels? So it's my wish. Swiss and Finland doesn't play together since the national team since 2019. So you don't have a recent comparing of the matches between those teams. You know that winner takes it all, and a draw it's enough for Switzerland because they have a better goal difference. And I desire that there's a lot of Portuguese community in Swiss, a lot. I think more than 1 million Portuguese immigrants living in Switzerland. And with you will check the crowd will rooting for them, will cheer for them. The stadium will be full or almost full, and I think it's important. Norway is already qualified. Let's see if Iceland can leave the tournament without 0 points.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, Norway against Ireland is a dead rubber. Norway have definitely won the group, and Iceland have definitely lost it, which is a shame. But it'd be interesting to see what Norway do, because they could rotate the team, but they haven't been very good. They've won both their matches, but they haven't been impressive. So you do wonder if actually they'll keep a mostly full strength side, just try and get a bit more of a rhythm playing together heading into the quarterfinals. Obviously, they have a slightly more favourable draw than some. They should be looking at playing probably Italy. Almost certainly Italy, actually. Portugal can still squeeze through. But either way, like, Norway should feel confident going into that match, but not from the first two matches. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they play with a full strength side, just to keep up the momentum. But yeah, Switzerland and Finland. I would, if whoever's watching this, I would encourage people to watch this live. I think it's going to be a really fun match. Both Switzerland and Finland have been really impressive in this. Like, they have genuinely gone. I think Finland probably outplayed Norway when they lost. I think Switzerland came close to outplaying Norway. They are both. Neither team have sat back and defended. Both of them have tried to play through the lines in midfield. Both of them have tried to attack down the wings. Finland mostly with overlapping fullbacks. With Switzerland, they've got really fun wingers that cut inside and create chances that way. But both of them have got pace. Both of them can break. I think this is going to be a really fun match. And as Pedro was saying, in front of a packed house, in front of the Swiss home crowd, I think this is going to be a really fun watch. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to watch this game. The other game, you can, because obviously they're on at the same time, I would choose this one. This one is, I think it's going to be really good fun. And yeah, Switzerland only need a draw, and they're into the quarterfinals for the first time ever. So a lot to play for.
Okay. Just to recall the state of that Group A, Norway is at the top with 6 points and a goal difference of +2. Switzerland and Finland have 3 points each, but Switzerland has a positive goal difference by 1, and Iceland with 0 points bottom the group, and with a goal difference of -3. So it will be quite interesting, as you said, Pedro and Daniel. And so yeah, do you have something to add today?
One more thing. I've noticed that this episode has run on longer than usual. I think it's because I'm a guest this time, so I've been talking a lot more.
And you are an invited guest. It's a pleasure to have you, Pedro and Daniel, every day with us for this 25th episode of VAR and Espresso. So we are now maybe at the end of this show, because the Club World Cup is going to end. But do not think you will never see us again, because we have other things coming. So yeah, I want to thank you all, our viewers. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, X, on the site where daily Women's Euro recaps are posted by Daniel and Steve. We have a lot of good stories for you, so come check and follow. And thanks for being here every day. Thanks, Pedro, and thanks, Daniel, for your participation. And we will see you tomorrow.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. You too.